through the street. Easy for listening. I wasn't able to do it. Easy for dancing. I'm not a great lover of cats. That's my fear. You're a disgrace, you are. Not me. That's my fear. You're a disgrace, you are.
Hello and welcome to Shadowboxing. My name is Tibor and my guest for the day is John Hyde.
Hello Tibor, it's great to be back on West TV.
People know about you because you're a long time involved in politics. But can you tell us how you started and why?
I was originally a journalist, worked on the West Australian, worked on regional media, worked overseas. I always had lived in the inner city. And then when the old city of Perth was split up in 1995 by the then Colin Barnett Liberal government, because back then they believed that smaller councils were more efficient and the way to go. And so we created the new town of Vincent, and I wanted to be part of my local community. So
that's why you choose politics?
Yes, I think I'd always had an interest in politics.
And you got a challenge in your hand, because I think you got someone from the Liberal Party who is running against you in the city of Perth for the seat. How do you feel?
Oh, look, every election's different. Incumbency for the Barnett government is a huge advantage.
Which ways? Why is it an advantage?
Oh, well, because all the instruments of government, it's very much the record of 4.5 years of the Barnett government, what people think about that. If people in the seat of Perth think that's good or not, and certainly the feedback I'm getting back is that residents in the inner city have missed out, that the preoccupation of the Barnett government's been with big business, with big structures, big projects, but not so much about the living conditions of people. And you know, people who are living in Homes West, we've got one of the highest percentages of people in government housing in the inner city, and that of course makes a lot of sense.
What sort of percentage we got in the city?
14.5%, and some suburbs such as Highgate are up near 18%. But
that's
that makes
high, yes.
It is high, but it makes a lot of sense when you've got the best transport and proximity to hospitals that you do have more public housing, but you've got to make sure that that public housing is looked after and that people can enjoy a high standard of living in there.
So, but you're not afraid of the challenge of Elena Evangel, who is now in the Liberals' colours?
Well, I think when you're standing, you can only look at your own record. It doesn't matter if there's a Green, a Liberal, Christian Democrat. Now there could be 10 independents. All you have to do is just work on your own abilities and working ahead on your own agenda, particularly when you're a sitting member.
On that point, working on your own agenda is very important. I believe that myself. I checked your website and I did not find a clear agenda for you. What do you want to do if you re-elected as member of Perth? Could you tell me some of the bullet points, what you got in your mind?
Bullet points. Well, I think when you're in opposition, of course, you're not the government. I think when you are in government, you've got a very clear agenda in terms of what you're achieved and where you're hoping to go. Now, I got a firm commitment to ensuring that Royal Perth returns to being a well-funded local hospital for the inner city. And part of our vision in the Labor government in building Fiona Stanley, in rebuilding at Midland and Joondalup, was that people in the outer suburbs would have their own local hospitals, and that those of us that live in the inner city wouldn't be having to compete with world-class facilities at Royal Perth with people from the outlying suburbs. So that remains a priority for me. Public transport is a huge priority. What we're finding with a lot of the buses is that by the time they get to Walcott Street, Charles Street, Fitzgerald Street, they're chock-a-block because our public transport hasn't had the investment.
So what's the alternative for that?
Well, the alternative is, as when I was in government last time, that you invest and you plan ahead. We invested with the Mandurah railway line. Now, people told us, look, there'll only be 100 people a day using that. It's already fulfilled its ability. You've got to be able to plan ahead, and I think that's what I as a Labor Member of Parliament, and what the Labor Party offers, with clear agenda, clear commitment to getting public transport right.
That all sounds good, John. I hope you can make it. Next question. Multiculturalism and citizenship. We know that Perth is a very multicultural city. What do you think about that?
Well, I think everybody talks the talk on multiculturalism, but there's actually got to be a commitment to diversity, and that is to making sure that people of different cultures and people of different languages have got equal accessibility to services. And it's also about celebrating diversity. Now, WA is the most multicultural of any of the states. We're a very monolingual society. I think it's trite to say, let's put in signposts in Chinese or in Bahasa Indonesia for tourists. That is, we're only seeing multiculturalism in terms of an economic benefit. I think what we've seen in the federal government's Asian Century white paper is that it's got to be more than just saying we're a resource state shipping things interstate and we want people overseas and we want people to buy it. We've actually got to have a respect and an understanding of other cultures, and I think that's what multiculturalism's really about.
I got one very important question, because you are taking care of local government issues as a shadow minister. What do you think about the recently released Robson report and about the current government's sort of mega council mania?
It's very much a Margaret Thatcher agenda, a Jeff Kennett agenda, that by keeping people on edge, having change, that you're being seen to do something. We saw in the 90s they carved up the councils, now they want to amalgamate them to give the impression that they're doing something. Having been somebody who's been elected in local government, I was also National Vice President of local government. Local government works despite its size. You've got incredibly good councils that are very small, and you've also got some brilliant ones who are mega big.
So if it's all true, what's the motivation of Colin Barnett?
Well, you'll have to shadow box with him and ask him.
I don't think he will give me an answer on that.
I believe it's to shift the attention away from his lack of decision making and his lack of progress. Issues, from what the real picture is and the bad decision making. To try and blame somebody else. So blame your local council. We've got some very good councils. Yes. I've got a very, very strong agenda, no forced amalgamations. Local government's been wasting 4 years under the Barnett government, wondering with what ifs and what'll happen. They haven't been able to attract strong commitments from long-term staff or do their own strategic planning, because they don't know if the City of Vincent's going to be around. We don't know if Bassendean's going to be around. We don't know if Perth's going to be.
So it is not good for the communities to be kept in the rope and the shadow?
No. If your real focus is in the outcome, and the outcome is good services for local communities, well, if all your important players are wondering about things such as size or who should we amalgamate with, rather than the actual services to the local community.
It's a waste of time.
Waste of time, money, a big distraction.
One thing Colin Barnett used to say about the mega councils, it will be cheaper for everyone. Is it true?
No. The one amalgamation that's been achieved under the Barnett government is the city of Greater Geraldton, and the rates bill for some residents in the combined Geraldton and Greenough have gone up 40 percentage points. Now, everybody who understands local government knows that there is no connection between a bigger council and having cheaper rates. It's what the council does that matters.
That's very, very important, yes. And also in the eastern state, they tried these mega councils and they not succeeded. So why don't the Liberals learning from that experience?
Well, yes, you can see in the Queensland government where they had amalgamations, and we've got many of those councils are now looking to de-amalgamate and to go back to being smaller councils. Now, in the end, we've got a facility here for local communities to make decisions. If Subiaco residents don't like their council, they can let people know and they can amalgamate with their neighbours. What they have done is said very, very clearly, we don't want to amalgamate. We're very happy as we are. Government should respect that.
So is the hidden agenda with the mega councils from the Barnett government is politicizing the councils and have party representation in the councils? This could be the part of the agenda of Colin Barnett's?
Well, I don't know if it's an intended agenda, but it'll certainly be the result. Now, particularly if we end up with a mega city of Perth, and you know, I love Lisa Scafidi, but I disagree with her council's view. I think they are perhaps the best capital city council in Australia because they're small. Because they've actually only got less than 8,000 residents, they can concentrate on the
important stuff,
the really big, important things for the CBD. Now, the moment you become a city of 200 or 300,000 people, that means a barking dog in Osborne Park is just as important to the Lord Mayor as a big ratepayer in St George's Terrace. They're equal. And you know, I'm a Democrat, so I believe that's right, but the strides that City of Perth has achieved is through Lisa's being able to put us on the world map and to promote us. She's done a better job than our state government tourism department has. But if Perth becomes a mega big council, I think that will be harmed.
And we'll be lost.
Yep, definitely.
We have to stop in here, but please stay with us because after the short break we're coming back more on shadowboxing.